We reached the fifth race on the card here at Leicester this afternoon, a mare's handicap hurdle, class 5, over just shy of 2 miles. We're looking at number 5, and that is Born to Please, who's not won over hurdles since November 2019, has placed a fair bit since then, but has never really looked like winning. Her last 2 efforts on the flats have seen her finish second last and last, so I think the switch to this code needs to spark considerable interest. Right behind her, we've got 2 Donald McCain runners. Going to be quite difficult to make out which is which because they're both wearing the same blanket and they're pretty much the same colour. So I'm going to wait for the jockeys to go near their mounts. You might get an idea once that happens, but I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to try and hope that Somewhat Cloudy is the one coming towards me. Yes, it is. Number 4, Somewhat Cloudy, is the one closest to us. And she beat a smart mare at Huntingdon last year, but has found things a little tough since, and 2 starts since a wind operation haven't achieved much. But she did run a little bit better at Carlisle last time, and the ground might well have been too soft for her then. I think she's interesting on this sounder surface, but she does need to find a touch more, which means behind her, the other Donald McCain runner is Tough as Old Boots, who won a Huntingdon maiden hurdle easily in May, but has struggled since and was beaten 32 lengths when last seen in May on her handicap debut. She needs to find a little bit more. Right, behind her, that is John Joy Neal's runner and the favourite, Dollar Bay. 2 seconds in recent starts, have been in a novice and a maiden at Ludlow, and she was beaten by a very smart bumper horse last time, who has since finished 3rd in listed company over hurdles. Wincanton bumper winner clearly has talent, and an opening mark of 101 looks very fair, particularly as she can sneak into a 0 to 100, brings solid recent form to the table, and race conditions look perfect for her. Behind her is number 1, that's Angel's Landing. Just 1 win, which came on the all-weather at Kempton in October last year. Recent efforts on the flat left a little bit to be desired, but she was only beaten her neck at Haydock in September. Last 4 efforts over hurdles have seen her placed, and she definitely has the ability to go close off this mark after a 2-month break, if ready and raring to go. Behind her, we can track back to number 7, who's just been the blanket taken off, and that is Shanti Hayes, who is 0 from 18 under rules so far, and she's not finished closer than 10 lengths since this time last year. That second-placed effort did at least come at this track, so that's a positive, but she was beaten 30 lengths at Newton Abbot in May and has to find something returned from a break in retained cheek pieces. And that's pretty much it for the horses in the parade ring as they head out down to the start for the 5th race. As you can see, runners are down at the post for the 2:17. Hopefully we will catch up most of the time that was lost on the previous race. It's always quite good here at Leicester because the shoot down to the start is fairly short and doesn't take runners long to get there at all. So, this is the 5th race, and it is a mare's handicap hurdle, and it is over just shy of 2 miles, and it features a fairly strong favourite once again. Not been a great day for favourites so far, it has to be said, in Dollar Bay for Jonjo O'Neill and Jonjo O'Neill Jr. And you can see why. 2 seconds in recent starts. They came in a novice and a maiden, and she was beaten by a very smart bumper horse last time, who has since finished 3rd in listed company. Over hurdles, she herself, Dollar Bay, won a bumper at Wincanton earlier in her career, and I think an opening mark of 101 looks very fair, particularly as she can sneak into this 0 to 100 grade. So a nice piece of placing by Jonjo O'Neill, and she brings solid recent form to the table, and race conditions look ideal for her. So every reason to expect a big run from Dollar Bay. A bit of money for Shanti Hayes, who is 0 from 18 so far, but that has not deterred some punters from piling in. She's not finished closer than 10 lengths since this time last year, which is a slight negative. That second place effort, though, did at least come at this track, which is a positive, contrarily. But she was beaten 30 lengths at Newton Abbot in May, and has to find a lot, I think, return from the rake and retain cheek pieces, but there has been some notable market support, so clearly someone thinks she's going to run well. Encashment I'm quite interested in. I didn't get to see her in the parade ring. Dylan Whelan, one of the more inexperienced jockeys riding today, this time for Ben Pauling, who can do no wrong at the moment. He's already had a winner this afternoon with Apple Rock. And Encashment looked the winner at Plumpton 3 starts ago, only to get run down late on by a subsequent winner, and that form is some of the best on offer here. She unseated on the last 2 outings, but she shouldn't be judged too harshly on either of those, and she was sent off a fairly short price on both outings. I think she's clearly capable of winning off this mark and just needs everything to drop right. I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with her jump. I think she's just been a touch unlucky on her last couple of outings to unseat the jockey. So hopefully this time all can go well, despite the inexperienced Dylan Whelan taking over. And I think Encashment from the bottom of the weights is very fairly treated and should have a decent chance. Looks as though Tough as Old Boots is going to be one of the pace angles here. I don't think she's without a chance, provided she can get back to her best form. She won the Huntingdon Maiden Hurdle very, very easily in May. And I think off this handicap mark on that form, she'd have a pretty decent chance. And it's interesting that Abby McCain is going to try and make all here aboard Donald McCain's runner. And it looks as though they're coming out onto the track, so it shouldn't be too long before this 2:17 goes off. Shanti Hayes is going to be prominent by the look of it, and Dollar Bay held up. Those are the two towards the top of the market. Shanti Hayes now a 7-2 shot, so there's been a lot of support for that. I think it was around about 8-9 to 1 yesterday. So Shanti Hayes clearly is plenty of people's idea of the winner of this. I'm quite surprised that Angel's Landing is such a big price. Of those in this contest, I thought she'd probably be second favourite, but she's drifted out quite significantly. This daughter of Fascinating Rock, but I think she'll run well nonetheless if ready to go after a short break. The flag is raised for this mare's handicap hurdle, so let's get to Tim in the box.
They're often racing for the at Leicester races for Racing, Dining and Events mare's handicap hurdle, racing just shy of 2 miles again. They've got 8 flights of hurdles to jump, and Tough as Old Boots is in the lead, one of 2 in the race for trainer Donald McCain, ridden by his daughter Abby as they head towards the first flight. Just about in front, although moving right up sides there was Angel's Landing and Charlie Todd. In behind early on here is Born to Please, with out wider on the course Somewhat Cloudy, the other Donald McCain runner, with Brian Hughes on board as they clear flight number 2. Shanti Hayes is over towards the far side, and the blue with the white cross belts, hoop sleeves. Then in behind is Dollar Bay, red sleeves, red cap with the white diamond for the O'Neills, and the back marker probably about 3 lengths behind them at this very, very early stage is Otolita, who must be 6 lengths off the gallop. Encashment is 2 from the rear at this stage with the red cross belts, horsewear's cheek pieces as they race around the turn. So it's Tough as Old Boots who has the lead. From in second place, Angel's Landing, Charlie Todd. Then in third place on the inside, Shanti Hayes, looking for a first win under Connor Ring. Then out wider on the course is Somewhat Cloudy as they clear the first down the back straight. Born to Please jumped it quite big and bold under Harriet Tucker. Then in behind is Dollar Bay on the inside, with Encashment out wider for Dylan Whelan. as they make their way towards flight number 4. Nocelita is the back marker, some 6 lengths off the gallop. So heading down towards the next, Tough as Old Boots and Angel's Landing. Angel's Landing was pretty swift over that. Born to Please continues to jump well in 3rd position on the outside of Shanti Hayes. Out wider, Somewhat Cloudy, the blue sleeves and cap. Then Dollar Bay in behind them, with out wider Encashment, and the back marker is Oscillator and Johnny Burke, who's riding that one off the pace. As they go downhill, they're about to climb towards the final flight down the back straight, which will be 4 from the finish. Angel's Landing on the outside of Tough as Old Boots. Somewhat Cloudy continues to run wider on the track. In behind Born to Please, with Shanti Hayes on the inside. Encashment out very wide on the course. Then comes Dollar Bay as they jump the next. And the back marker in jumping at Oscillator, but well in touch. They're all in touch, the 8 fillies and mares, as they race around the top bend. Angel's Landing just pressing on now from Tough as Old Boots in second. Then comes Somewhat Cloudy. Then in behind Shanti Hayes, who's alongside Born to Please, Dollar Bay, Encashment out wider. And then comes Oscillator as they freewheel down the hill and making their way towards the home straight. Angel's Landing in front for Charlie Todd, but they're all bunched up in behind. Somewhat Cloudy, with over towards the far side, the nose-banded Tough as Old Boots. Born to Please in behind that. Then comes Shanti Hayes and Connor Ring. Dollar Bay, red sleeves, just coming a little bit close, although had a little bit of short of room there, so has to be switched out towards this near side. Encashment now under pressure, and then comes Oscillator. Still Angel's Landing then, ploughing on in front from Somewhat Cloudy in second place. Dollar Bay's coming down this near side, is getting closer. Born to Please ridden along, far side Tough as Old Boots. They've moved on. Shanti Hayes has been outpaced, so's Encashment at this stage, as they have this long run towards 2 from the finish, and Oscillator's never been in it as they race towards 2 out. Angel's Landing's being joined and passed now by the strong travelling Dollar Bay. So Dollar Bay's got to the front. Tough as Old Boots is sticking to the task gamely towards the far side. Somewhat Cloudy, Born to Please also running on as Angel's Landing gives way as they jump the final flight, and over in front is Dollar Bay by about 3 to 4 lengths to Born to Please and Tough as Old Boots. Then Somewhat Cloudy. Dollar Bay is clear for John Joe O'Neill Jr., chased by Born to Please in second place, but staying on nicely here, Dollar Bay for the O'Neills, and the perfect partnership wins comfortably from in second place, Born to Please. Tough as Old Boots probably just third ahead of stable companion Somewhat Cloudy, and then Angel's Landing.
Dollar Bay quids in the 2:17 at Leicester and travelled very sweetly, quite clearly travelled the sweetest, in fact, of all those in this race, and has put the race to bed indeed, in very emphatic fashion. In the end, she always looked in the right place at the right time. John Joe O'Neill never really panicked, John Joe O'Neill Jr. that is, and she's followed up 2 seconds in Novice and a Maiden with victory on her handicap bow off an opening mark of 101. She snuck into this 0 to 100 grade and has done it really pretty easily in the end. And Tough as Old Boots has been just that. I think in the end she finished third for Abby McCain, but she's boxed on really gamely, and it's nice to see Born to Please run a little bit better with Harriet Tucker in the saddle for Mark Usher. But no doubt about the winner, and that was Dollar Bay, who's quickened up really, really well in the closing stages and is quite clearly well treated, far too well treated for the likes of this mares in this grade. And yeah, she's bounded clear in the closing stages. She actually took up the running with about 2 to jump, and the way she did so, she just looked like she was going to career away. It wasn't quite perhaps as wide a margin of victory as it looked at the time, but she still won pretty decisively in the end. And I'm sure John Joe O'Neill, who's here today, is going to be absolutely delighted with that. It was a lovely effort. A little bit disappointing was Encashments for Ben Pauling's team, who have been in fantastic form of late, including today as well. Apple Rock was a good winner this afternoon, but Encashment never really got competitive and never really looked like winning either. But Dollar Bay certainly did, and I think was given a nice waiting ride from John Joe O'Neill Jr., who always looked pretty confident he was going to pick up the pieces late on. Angel's Landing gave it a good go from the front for Charlie Todd and Ian Williams, but was headed fairly early in the straight and couldn't really box on. I think maybe she'd used up most of her gas by that point. And we can see Dollar Bay on the head-on, just hitting the front and jumps the last really well. Doesn't even touch a twig. But I think the race has already been won at this point, so well done to them. Somewhat Cloudy was bang there or thereabouts with a couple of furlongs to go, but she couldn't quite quicken in the same style as the front three. And there will be other days for her. And I think Mark Usher's mare, Born to Please, will certainly be winning again at some point, this time over hurdles. I think that was a really nice run, a very encouraging one. She wasn't particularly well fancied in the market, but has run above herself for sure. But I think they've all bumped into one, really. The favourites have had a pretty poor record on the afternoon so far, and Dollar Bay has well and truly put that to bed, because she's won as a favourite should, indeed as a 5-4 favourite should, and there were very little concerns, I think, in the closing stages. John just looking at the big screen to see where his rivals are. Don't worry, John, they were a long way behind you.